on Heather.
Well, as you can see, I am not in my humble abode. I'm right here. It is I, the King of Timeout, Johnny Sinister. Welcome, everybody, to Wrestling Memories. It's the Who's Next episode. So, as always, I got JP actually sitting right next to me, for which is a very, very fucking weird scenario. We also got the legendary Foulmouth Bobbitt. What's going on, Bobbitt?
I'm doing all right. How are you, Mr. Johnny?
I'm doing pretty good, you goofy bastard. And as always, hey, we have the Miss Tattooed Mistress, Heather. Without her running this shit, we would be fucked. What's going on, Heather?
Well, apparently even with me running it, JP still has to be a bit of a clown. I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing very well, very well. So, obviously, this episode is going to be about the meteoric rise. Are you okay?
Just, he's reading the chat.
I met Goldberg. You know better. You know better than to torture yourself with this.
Hey, Aaron?
Fuck, man. Come on. You're fucking derailing the fucking show. Goddamn. See, this is why we can't have nice things. God damn it. So,
Oh no, I'm not sad, Wise Society. I'm actually in a really good mood, man.
So, this episode is about Goldberg and his meteoric rise in WCW and his contributions. And I think I can speak for everybody here that we went into this thinking they ain't going to have much to say. It's not going to be really that good of an episode.
Right.
And boy, were we wrong about it.
It wasn't one of the longer episodes, but it was to the point. They didn't drag it. It actually talked about Goldberg. It didn't really talk about WWE. I mean, they threw little snippets in there of Stone Cold Steve Austin. In fact, Bobbitt made mention of, he had to go back and watch it today because he hasn't the attention span of a fucking Cocker Spaniel. So he fucking...
Don't insult the Cocker Spaniels, man.
Look who I get it from.
So, but he made mention of that when they would pop in with the fucking Stone Cold Steve Austin shit, and they popped in. It was funny because what was the line again, Bobbitt?
You can kiss my ass.
There you go.
Yeah.
Because I mean that was at the time that was WWE, but like Johnny said, I mean it was It was really good. It was one of the better episodes, and it was to the point.
And which was shocking because we went into this with very low expectations when we watched this episode last night.
I went in with the Cruiserweight.
Yeah, and that one also sparked a really good discussion. In fact, we had to stop ourselves because I think after we watched it, we spent another hour or two just discussing this shit. So at the time, WWE had.
And I did go back and watch that match.
The Cruiserweight?
The one that everybody was talking about, the Rey Mysterio Eddie Guerrero match.
Yeah.
It was okay, but it wasn't nothing that I would sit there and say this was a great fucking match. Again, it doesn't compare to a Kenny Omega Okada match. Not even fucking close. And I wouldn't even give that a 5-star match. So, there you go. That's my thinking. It was a good match, but it wasn't.
Right. I think. Do you think maybe your opinion might have been different if you had seen it at the time that it was airing?
No. Not really. Because I had seen Eddie Guerrero. You know, I knew a little bit about Rey Mysterio, not too much.
Right.
But I was an adult by then. So
right.
I was already set in my ways and what I wanted.
So, back to the topic at hand.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just thought I'd throw that in there because I did say that I was going to watch that match in Heather, and I fell asleep during it, and I had to shut it off.
So, WWE obviously at this time had started their Attitude Era. And it was cultivating, they had lost all of their major superstars that were made in WWE, and they had to start relying on younger talent. WCW responded to this with arguably probably one of their only homegrown talents, which would be Goldberg. One that would...
Bagwell. Well, yes, but one of their really big popular stars.
The most successful one.
Yeah.
That was it's arguably he's the only successful top guy ever in WCW that was a homegrown character. The thing that I found interesting was this guy had no wrestling experience whatsoever. In fact, he pretty much when he went to WCW was his initial experience. The guy played football. Now, the one thing that we noticed is that, and one thing that I pointed out is, and it kind of more correlates to today than what happened back then, but when Goldberg came back for his final run in WWE, everybody was shitting on him because he couldn't go more than a minute or two in a match.
You're talking about recently. Right?
Recently.
And two, he was 50 fucking years old. Give him a fucking break.
But what I think a lot of people fail to realize is that Goldberg never had a match that went longer than maybe 6 minutes. Well, you said one time.
The match at Halloween Havoc with DDP went like
15. But nothing. He's never had like a 20-minute, 25-minute knockdown drag out. Now, the first question I have for everybody is it necessarily a bad thing that you have a character that can only go, a guy that can only go a couple of minutes in a ring?
In my opinion, no. As long as the character is built properly.
But Heather, what do you say?
No, because you know what? If without having those guys that do those squash matches like that, and that's their gimmick, you wouldn't have people like Braun Strowman even.
Bobbitt?
I agree with what Heather said.
So, with me, I grew up watching Goldberg. Goldberg was another one of my favorites watching WCW. And the reason is because he came in like this unstoppable force. And they really took a chance with Goldberg because they didn't know, like I stated earlier, the guy, he played football. He's never had a wrestling career even outside of the WCW. They brought him in. He was under the into the WCW powerhouse, and within 2 months, they had him on live television, and he was doing a bunch of squash matches. And where he had his first real hurdle was with William Regal, where he went 6 minutes in a match, and Goldberg got exposed for what he really was, which is a guy that couldn't go, very limited moveset, and was very green in the ring, which almost put a halt to his push, because at this time they were starting to push him on up the upper echelon. Looking back on it now, do you guys think that... I'm just saying you subscribe. Thank you, D's Nuts, for subscribing to the channel. and so, my question to you guys, do you think that match should have never happened because it did expose Goldberg for what it is, or do you think it really didn't matter in hindsight?
We had this talk, not about wrestling, but we had this talk about the words that we use. And one of the words, and let me get that real quick and I'll explain it to you. Go ahead and ask the other things.
What about you, Heather?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
Given that, the match between Regal and Goldberg kind of exposed him, in hindsight, would you have, if you were booking this, would you have had it go down that way? Or was it really a detriment to Goldberg? Or in hindsight, did it really matter in the end?
In the end, it really didn't matter because, yes, it exposed him for the fact that he was a new wrestler that was still learning. Because from that point, he did get better, and his matches did get a bit longer, and he did get more content within his wrestling material as the years went on. So I don't think it hurt him.
Do you want anything over?
Bobbitt, what say you?
Honestly, in the end, not really, because we all remember him for his run, like his undefeated streak, more than a particular moment.
Okay, now you were...
Well, okay, so we have this, we're doing this exercise because they're changing the way we do things at work. They're switching over, like the people that I'm down here with, I'm not going to see them anymore. They're going to fall under a different group of people. But the thing is for each word, check the box to the right that best reflects your initial reaction to the word used in context of change. And there's a list of 15 words. And then it's either a positive word or a negative word. And it's what you just look at the word and you say, is it positive or a negative? Don't think about it, just... So, postpone is a negative thing. But in this case, it's a positive thing because they were able to cover up what they did with him.
Right.
And put this streak together. That's how the thing started, was they fucked up. At the beginning, it was a negative. You can only postpone the inevitable. Because you all know that William Regal and his styles of wrestling match not at all. And not one thing about them would make a good match. And they showed it. Now, William Regal tried his ass off.
Oh, yeah. He
William Regal is one of the best workers in the world. He wouldn't be in the WWE and definitely wouldn't be in, or WCW, definitely wouldn't be in WWE. But to postpone the inevitable probably would have been more of a failure on WCW's part.
Right.
But that being said, they were able to cover it up, and a positive came out of it, that they were able to build this streak
and that leads me to the next point, is that what WCW did is at the time, which was very good booking decisions. Instead of trying to hone his weaknesses and bring those up, they just played to his strengths. He's a guy that comes in, bam, 2 moves, done. Now he had a little bit, you know, he would throw.
He could throw punches.
He could throw punches.
He was a Stone Cold Steve Austin.
He can throw some suplexes, stuff like that. But realistically, the main thing you saw was that spear, which, in my opinion, to this day is still the best spear that anybody's ever done.
Roman Reigns needs to take fucking lessons from how to do a spear.
And the jackhammer. And then the jackhammer, which was almost, it was kind of like a modified brainbuster. It was basically a quick drop suplex.
It's Bobby Lashley tries to do that move, where he holds a guy up above him, lets the fucking blood run to his fucking head, and then turns it into a power slam is what he does.
Now, at the time, when they started doing this, they had no indication of any idea of doing the streak. But it started forming a life of its own. And it got to where you had some absurd numbers start coming out, where every week, the number would increase by 10, and there would be no possible way. At the time, I don't know. For me personally, I don't think it really mattered all that much because it played into the story so well. Do you guys think that sometimes maybe a little bit of fluff added into just for the sake of story is okay, or was that one of those situations where they need to keep that legitimate of an accurate count of how many wins he actually had?
I think what ruined it for me is because I caught on like right away. Like he had, if I remember right, he was like 76-0.
Yeah.
And then the very next week he was 99-0.
Yeah. That's what I mean. He was like, how the fuck did this guy have 20 matches?
I mean, he wrestled like 4 times in a week.
Yeah. And there was no way.
Right, because he wrestled, they did shows like they did live shows, but they actually showed their shows. They had Thunder, they had fucking WCW Saturday Night, and the main event, kind of like type show. Kind of like WWE did on Sundays, except theirs were on Saturday night, I think.
Right.
And he went from 76-0 to 99-0. And they said that if he wins this match, he's 99-0, and his 100th match, you know, they made his 100th match, whatever.
Right.
It's just like, God, you know, if you're going to do something, make it more realistic. It would have been a greater fucking build to have him win the title from fucking Hulk Hogan. And we'll get into that, I'm sure.
Yeah.
At Starrcade or something to that effect.
Right. Bobbitt, what about you?
At the end of the day, honestly, the actual wins that he had sounded better on paper than it was in reality. Like, we remember the streak more than we do his wins. Like, the fucker could have had 200 wins. We don't fucking know because they never kept count of the damn thing. Because like y'all said, one week he'll have like 80 wins. Next week it's 100. You're like, the fuck? They didn't even keep up with that shit. So how many wins he had didn't really matter.
It still doesn't matter because of the fact that even to this day, wins and losses mean absolute shit for the WWE and WCW. The streak was simply there for theatrics, so adding in the fluff helped build the character. So in this instance, yes, it's fine.
I will talk about the streak later.
Me personally, I didn't mind so much the fluff, but I think it was too much.
Yeah, I mean,
it was too grandiose.
Yeah.
I would have much rather preferred it kept realistic, because to a point that Bobbitt made that I'm actually going to disagree with, there were some memorable matches with Goldberg that I think that's one thing that a lot, because that was the one thing I took away from this episode, is that there was a lot more to Goldberg than this streak. And it really, seeing that really kind of jogged my memory of watching, I remember when he first came on the scene and he hit the first guy he fought, Hugh Morris. Mm-hmm. And, that's how far back I can remember Goldberg. And all these memories. Speaking of the title with Hogan, now at this point, WWE had started to pull ahead of WCW in the ratings. Mm-hmm. So, they were starting to lose ground despite the popularity of Goldberg. In fact, the chants, and he got so big that they actually included the chants into his entrance music. Mm-hmm. And that's why they did the whole backstage thing, to sort of bring that reality. You didn't want to miss a moment of it.
Right.
So WCW still, though, had to answer with something. And they finally decide to make Goldberg the top guy. Ironically enough, it was Hulk Hogan who mentioned it.
Yes. And this is where I'm going to come in and fucking say, everybody stop fucking gagging on fucking Hogan for fucking burying people. He's the one that said, in fact, I'm even going to go as far as say this. Goldberg said in his show, he said, I would never, ever do something if it did not make any fucking sense. Hogan never did anything if it did not make any sense. Hogan knows the wrestling business. So when everybody sits there and says that he's fucking burying fucking talent, you're wrong. He's doing what is better for the business than what is being said. Hogan wanted to better the business, and people don't seem to understand that. If somebody came up to fucking Hogan and John Cena's very first fucking match and said, we're going to have you lose to John Cena because we want to push him all the way to the top, what do you think Hogan would say? Really? The guy hasn't even had a fucking match yet.
Yeah.
Hogan would have looked at him and said, I don't like where that's going, brother. I'm not going to do it.
Well, and with Goldberg, the reason why I think it worked is because Goldberg was a very slow build. He was in the WCW for like a whole year before they even tried to put the belt on him.
Oh no, I know that, but I'm just saying.
No, that's what. But that's why I'm validating. I'm backing up your point. With the fact, the reason why it worked with Goldberg was because of the fact they had slow build Goldberg up to this point. Now, here comes the part that some people kind of get in a little bit of tiff about. They decide to give this match away for free at the Georgia Dome. 45,000, something like that. It was in low to mid 40s.
It was in the low to mid 40s.
And the question I have for everybody here is, should that really have been a pay-per-view match, or was it a good thing that they did it live and gave it to everybody?
Go ahead, Heather.
It was a good thing they did it live on TV because they got more views that way. Not everybody could afford the pay-per-view.
I will agree with Heather, but I'll go one step further. But I'll let Bobbitt go first.
Okay, Bobbitt.
I'm sorry. What was the question?
What did you think about them giving away Goldberg versus Hulk Hogan on Monday Nitro instead of doing it at a pay-per-view?
Oh, it's the same way that they do now, where they give away these pay-per-view matches on free TV. It doesn't. It's really stupid. Like, it doesn't do anything. Like, you give away something that you could have easily done a whole pay-per-view around. In the end, You lost all that revenue that you could have had for a pay-per-view. It's fucking stupid.
I'm going to say this. I'm going to agree with Heather, and I'll take it one step further. What was WCW's philosophy at the time? And they said it in the show. Can anybody answer me that question? Bobbitt, you know what Eric Bischoff said?
Uh-uh.
What was driving WCW at the time? TV ratings. That's why they did it. It was all about TV ratings. It had nothing to do with them worrying about pay-per-view. They were trying to beat WWE or WWF at the time in TV ratings. They didn't care about the fucking pay-per-view. That would come later if they would have beat WWF. We all know that didn't happen. So you ain't getting your ass grabbed, Drew. Nice try. So anyway, I don't know why you would even say that. So anyway, but like I said, I will agree with Heather and take it one step further. It makes more sense at the time for them to do it. In retrospect, I wouldn't have done it. I would have saved it for pay-per-view. Would have been more money.
I'm of the mindset that retrospectively, I would have done it. I would have done it on pay-per-view. But yeah, also at the time, it goes back to the original point. WCW's driving force was TV ratings and beating WWE and in the TV war. Now, with that also being said, WCW was not really known for good pay-per-views.
No.
They weren't really.
I mean,
Just look at Halloween Havoc and the fucking Cage of Chaos, dude. Come on.
But they weren't really known. They were more known for their TV show,
right,
than their pay-per-view. So, even Hogan said in that episode that he didn't know if that was the right call because obviously the result was it being Goldberg's town, and from all these people, Hogan put Goldberg over, and Goldberg became champion. Which he doesn't know if that was the right decision, having it on TV or having it on the pay-per-view. We'll never know. But I will say this, where I think probably the most shocking part about it really hit me, and at that point in the episode. At this point, Goldberg's run as champion was the reason that we started getting 5.3 rating, 4.8, 6.8 ratings between WWE. Because at this time, also, all the superstars from WWE were coming up as well. And we were getting this dynamic between the two shows,
right,
where, so in a way, you could realistically say that Goldberg was one of the biggest reasons, probably second to the NWO.
Right.
Oh, well, I think by that time you'd have to say actually he would be the main reason.
The Goldberg, the reason why, well, of course, because the NWO was already by that time they were starting to do that. Too many.
So realistically, you could say the argument could be made that Goldberg is the reason why WCW lasted as long as it did.
Right.
After the whole NWO. NWO was what got it started, but Goldberg's what carried it.
Yeah.
And now we're going to get to the part where I think was probably the stupidest thing that they did. Obviously, by this time, Goldberg had this amazing streak. He was champion. They decided to end the streak because of backstage politicking. People were getting pissed off that, realistically, by the standards of traditionalist, Goldberg hadn't paid his dues.
No.
He had not paid his dues, and this is the top guy in the company.
Yep.
Still
supposedly the top guy.
Supposedly.
Hulk Hogan was still the top guy. So.
And, and that's what I always found amazing. He never really changed up his style too much, and that quick match feel is what the people wanted. That's what they wanted to see. They wanted Goldberg to come in and completely demolish. I saw this match. The one that he lost.
The Polkadoo? Or the cattle prod?
The cattle prod. Goldberg lost in a fuck finish.
Isn't that at Starrcade?
At Starrcade. 1997. Starrcade.
No,
was it 97? No, was it later?
Right here.
1998. So Starrcade 1998. Scott Hall comes up.
I'll even go to that match.
And tases Goldberg. I remember seeing this. And Goldberg lost. Now, I'm going to go ahead and give my opinion on it, and then I'll let you guys go. This was one of the stupidest decisions WCW made with Bill Goldberg. And I'm going to go, we were going to wait to do this point, but I think this is a good time to bring it up now. Because of what the aftermath was, is Goldberg lost his luster right quickly after that. And we'll get more into that in a minute. But at that moment, what did Goldberg have after this? There's somebody more recent that we just had this with, which would be Asuka. Asuka was undefeated, and look what's happened with her. And
I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt.
No,
Kevin Nash said it best. He said, if you have an undefeated streak and that is your gimmick, once you lose, you might as well retire.
Right.
And that was the gimmick that the WWE had for Asuka. They have fucked that woman up so bad that if I was her, I would sue the WWE for fucking doing her the way they did her. This woman is a class grade A athlete. She's better than Charlotte. She's better than Becky Lynch. And by God, she's better than fucking Carmella. She's probably the best. She is ranked #1 in the fucking world at what she does. And you have her lose twice to Carmella. And everybody wonders why I'm so fucking upset. It's not because I want to fuck Asuka. It's because they don't know how to fucking book talent. That's why I'm so upset.
So, I'm going to come back to this, but I wanted to get everybody else's opinion. Heather, what did you think about that?
The only thing worse than the cattle prod was the finger poke of doom.
Which that happened next night?
That we'll have that. That's going to happen. That's actually what we're going to talk about next.
The next night.
You ruined it. You've ruined everything with that. With the cattle prod.
Well, I will say this. Kevin Nash was the booker at the time. Okay? They gave him a story, which is what the writers are supposed to do, and then Kevin Nash has got to book a match around it.
Yeah.
So it wasn't Kevin Nash that said, no, we're going to do this. He's trying to look at him. I mean, we're watching the match. Yeah. He's acting like, I don't want to fucking do this. We have a really good thing here, and it makes no sense. You can see the look in his fucking eyes when he's coming down to the ring, because we're watching the match right now. You can see the look in his eyes. He's like, I do not want to fucking do this, but I'm going to do it anyway. Because, again, Kevin Nash is being paid by another company. He didn't want to lose his job. He had his family to think of. So, Kevin Nash booked the match with the story that he was given. He just had to make sense of it all, which sucks for him because he's the booker. So, I'm sorry, I just wanted to say that. That goes into that whole Kevin Nash and Hulk Hogan pairing talent on WCW. No, I don't think that's what it was.
Bob, what about you?
Yeah, what they did to Goldberg was pretty stupid, but this company was also known for multiple stupid things, like fucking, not only the finger poking doom, but the fucking, them saying that Mankind was going to win the title on Raw that night. That, to me, that was the official end of the Monday Night War.
Well, keep in mind that most of what you're saying happens after this moment.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's like the snowball effect with this.
Realistically, you could say this was the catalyst.
Mm-hmm.
This right here was kind of the catalyst for them to. This is when the shit show started. But the thing is, and I'm gonna say this now. And this is why I keep telling everybody on this call, start listening to 83 Weeks, because Eric Bischoff gives his side. If you think about it, Eric Bischoff is not giving his side of the fucking story. He gets in depth. I mean, he has, Heather listened to a couple of them, 2-3 hour fucking shows, where he's talking line by line what fucking happened, why he had what happened. Yeah, he'll say, I don't fucking remember, but he doesn't put the onus on anybody else. He puts it all on him. Everybody thinks Eric Bischoff is an asshole. You're all wrong. He put the onus on him. He's the one that was in charge. He's the one that fucking bit the bullet. But at the time when they were saying, giving away what WWE was doing, it was working. You got to remember that, Bobbitt. At the time, it was working. They were saying WWE's giving away a Intercontinental title match tonight.
Right.
And at the time, the Intercontinental Champion, I don't even know who it was, but it was probably The Rock, but he wasn't going to lose the title. But when they said there's going to be a title change, it's the way it's worded is what ruined WCW in that moment.
What? Now, we're going to get the opinion of a man that finally decided to show up. Mr. Late as always, Mr. Trek. What's going on, buddy? What do you think about what's that?
That's what happens when you have to work.
I had to work today too.
Hey, I had to work today too, and
I did too.
Live here after I got off work, and I made it on time. So what's your fucking excuse? No,
and he lives in the town of 5 million people. Go ahead,
buddy.
Was it a stupid idea? Yeah. Well, I think it was CM Punk in the show. I can't believe I'm gonna quote CM Punk. He goes, "Red chocolate with a caliber. Good idea? No." So he says it like that. He goes, "No, that's a bad idea." No, sure, that was a bad idea. It's like you could have him lose and he still will look strong. But it's like you have to have Scott Hall come up and jab him with a cattle prod. Come on, folks. That's Bush League right there. That was why WCW started to go in the shitter.
Now, when you say Bush League, what do you mean by it was Bush League?
That's like second-rate, third-rate planning, folks. I mean, we can come up with a better way than that to have Goldberg lose, folks.
Okay, but hold on. Who's doing the Bush League here?
Whoever wrote the crap.
Okay, don't blame. I was going to say, don't blame it on Kevin Nash. He had to make sense of it. He thought the only because he thought. In Kevin Nash's thinking, he thought that the way to beat fucking Goldberg and still make him look strong, and the only way they could beat him was with the cattle prod.
Yeah. No, I don't.
He said it in the show, and you watched it with us last night.
Yeah.
So you heard him say, "I didn't want to write this shit, or I didn't want to book this shit. I just booked it. I had to make sense of everything they were fucking giving me."
Right.
So.
And we're not going to get into what happened the next time, because obviously the infamous finger poke of doom happened. We'll get into that, Ellie, because I'm sure that's coming up.
Oh, it's in this episode.
It's in this episode too?
Yeah.
So...
Yeah, the finger poke of doom is referenced a million times throughout this entire fucking series.
We mentioned it a million times. So basically, the night after, we get the finger poke of doom scenario, where Hulk Hogan touches Kevin Nash, he falls, bam, Hogan is the champion again. Which, that was kind of like, from the pay-per-view to that, was like taking shit and then adding fucking...
corn to the shit.
And really started giving the decline. Goldberg started losing his luster because they kept making him lose after that.
Yep.
Almost making him jobber.
Yep.
And got so frustrated that he literally took out a limo window, busted his arm, which was stupid on his part.
Severed tendons in his arm.
Severed tendons. At this time, this is when the jump happens.
Yep.
When WWE really starts going. So, the connection that I want to make here is Goldberg losing the way he lost, leading up to the finger poke of doom, is what initiated the jump. Up until that point, WCW was doing fantastic at the time.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't going in and out of business anytime soon. And in a span of a couple months, the product just went from like this to just straight nose dive. And what I want people to realize here is that Goldberg's story, which is why I say that it's amazing how much we got out of this, is a classic example of what happens when you do bad booking.
Yeah.
This is a good example of what you can do to ruin a character and a company.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna use this analogy, and I know the reason I started doing this particular wrestling memories is I want you all to look at the parallels to what's going on today. I think, to be honest with you, they started booking Roman Reigns great at the beginning. They were doing good. Not as a singles competitor, but when the way they were booking him, they were booking him great. They were booking him really good. Then they send him out on his own. Last year, or the year, WrestleMania 31 is when it's fucking started. Okay.
Actually, it started before. You remember that?
WrestleMania 31 is when it started. You're talking about the Royal Rumble after.
Okay, yeah. Because you know where I'm fixing to go with that.
Go ahead.
Where I've mentioned it several times on this show that there's an interview with Paul Heyman.
Well, no, it was that Royal Rumble at Philadelphia where he beat Daniel Bryan, right?
Right, where Daniel Bryan had just come back. That's where I think Paul Heyman actually hit that nail on the head when it came to that. Because at the time, Daniel Bryan was still white hot when he came back.
Yeah, I mean, but then if Daniel Bryan wins the Royal Rumble, aren't you booking fucking Daniel Bryan the same fucking way that you're booking fucking Roman Reigns today?
And that's kind of hindsight. We don't know unless the way things played out.
I'm kind of glad that I'm be honest with you. I'm kind of glad they didn't have fucking. I wouldn't have had fucking Roman Reigns win it. But
no,
I wouldn't have Daniel Bryan. No, that's just me. That's just me.
What I found interesting is Goldberg comes back after injury, and the luster is not there. And there was something, I don't know if you guys caught it. I wonder if you guys caught it as well. They mentioned phoning in, piping in sounds.
Yes, they always do. Let me say something to you, Wise Society. Just because people like somebody more Because I'm going to be fucking straight up goddamn honest with you. There are more people than you think that like Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns has more followers on Twitter than Daniel Bryan does. Just telling you straight up facts, dude. There are people out there that fucking love Roman Reigns. And there are more people that love Roman Reigns than love Daniel Bryan. I'm sorry. So that statement doesn't exist to me. Just because somebody's liked more than another person doesn't mean that they should fucking win the fucking Royal Rumble. Just saying, man. But go ahead, John. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. So, your guys' opinion, do you think WCW would have survived a little longer had they done something different? And Heather, I'll start with you.
Oh, there's a number of things they could have done differently and possibly would have survived a lot longer as a company. I mean, you could have not had the finger poke of doom. You could have not had the streak end in that way. You could have not gotten Bret Hart and kept him on the injury list for almost his entire rest of his career with the WCW. I mean, there were so many different things they could have done that would have extended the lifetime of the company. However, there was also the problems of Ted Turner losing control of Turner Broadcasting stations, or whatever it was, and having to answer to somebody else.
Right. And I will say this, I am wrong about the Daniel Bryan thing. Daniel Bryan has more followers. I apologize. I thought Roman Reigns had like 6 million followers. He only has 3.
Daniel Bryan had.
He only has. He doesn't have as many as you think.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry, Heather. Go ahead.
But with having to answer to people who don't know the product,
yes,
you have that inevitable of doom cloud over your head.
Right. I'm listening. Go ahead.
I'm done.
What about you, Bobbitt?
That's a really hard question to answer because hindsight's always 50-50. And I don't think they would have survived today, or even lasted as long as WWE has. But they was in a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation. Like WWF was kicking their ass in the ratings every week, and yeah, they could have not done the finger poke of doom or got Bret Hart. But who's to say that would have kept them around longer? They was in a losing war with themselves and with the shareholders. At the end of the day, it's all about the dollar. And who knows? Who knows if it would have lasted today? We will never know that answer.
I will say this, Bobbitt. Both Bruce Pritchard and Eric Bischoff both agree that if Bret Hart had stayed with the WWF, WCW would have lasted at least 3 years longer.
They would have beat WWF.
Yeah.
Why Society? That was 2 years ago, not last year. But anyway, go ahead. I digress.
Trek, what about you?
I think they would have lasted at least maybe a year or two longer if they hadn't done stupid shit like hitting with the cattle prod or the finger poke of doom and stuff. And by the way, someone told me a couple of days ago that, WWE almost killed themselves with their finger poke of doom, meaning Triple H versus Shawn Michaels. You know why it worked? Because they presented it as a joke, and they presented it as getting back at Vince and Slaughter and stuff like that. That's where it worked. They didn't take it seriously. They didn't do the bull crap that they did with that and let the thing go down the shitter. they're making fun of what WCW did.
Was there
We all knew it.
Was there a story behind the finger poking?
For WWF?
Yeah.
Yeah, they were getting back at Slaughter and Vince, who had tried to put Triple H versus Shawn Michaels for, I think, the European title in there, and that was their way of saying, we fuck the authority, and stuff, that prom language. And so there was a storyline behind it.
I think you're missing my point. The storyline behind the figure poke of doom on the WWF side, there was a reason for it. Mm-hmm. The finger poke of doom was, on WCW's end, was just because that's the only way they could fucking book it.
No, I agree.
Again, it was writing, because they didn't write. They wrote on the fly. They didn't write long term.
Yeah.
No, I agree.
That's.
It was just something that happened that night.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna do this. They just did it on the fly.
Exactly.
I think WCW would have lasted quite a while longer, but there was also one other problem that was kind of a big one. Number one, Goldberg, even after the whole deal with the cattle frog and the finger poke of doom, he was still their only successful attempt at a homegrown talent. All the major storylines that you saw after that involved the guys at the top.
Yeah.
And so
their talent.
They didn't have no young talent to cultivate, or they just flat out refused to. I just find it funny, you know, when we go back and look at it. Again, I'll say it again. When we came into this, we had literal no expectation of this as kind of an episode, and I think this has been probably one of the, all of the Monday Night War episodes, I think we probably got more out of this episode than any of the other ones that we've done before.
Right.
Because what you're looking at, especially when you get towards the end, you're seeing a lot of the stuff that WCW did back then, WWE is doing now.
Right. Merge, we'll talk about that at a later time.
Mm-hmm.
It's not what this episode is about. We'll talk about, and as you can see, I'm looking at Trexler because it looked like he kissed his fucking...
No, I was trying to blow something off of there, so...
He's trying to blow it! He was trying to blow his fucking computer.
He's trying to blow it!
Can I add something into the Goldberg thing about him getting hurt?
No. Already past that. No, go ahead.
That was on him, too, because they told him you're supposed to use a metal bat to bash in the limo and stuff. They goes, I don't want to look like a pussy. I'm not going to do that. So he used his arm instead. So that was on him. They were actually trying to be the voice of reason and use a metal baseball bat. And he said, no, I don't want to look like a pussy.
Did you not watch that fucking episode last night?
Yes.
Everyone said that.
There's a book called The Death of WCW where they talk about that. He was told to use a metal baseball bat, and he said, no, I don't want to look like a pussy.
Why the fuck didn't he say that last night? Because they had anything that he said last fucking night that said anything near that.
Yeah, he wanted to look like he was so strong by doing this.
Let me ask you this question, Trexter, and I'm not yelling at you.
No, I know.
Who wrote that book? And don't tell me Goldberg. Because
R.D. Reynolds and Brian Alvarez.
Brian Alvarez? Yeah, okay.
He's another one of those fucking Dave Meltzer fucking goons.
I know, but he contributed the results to it. He didn't contribute that stuff.
Listen to me. They write that shit in there to make themselves look good. Every writer, Heather, do you write? I'm not saying that you do this, but you're trying to enhance your story or your book, right?
Mm-hmm.
Would you not enhance a story to make the book that much more readable? Yes or no?
Absolutely.
Don't believe everything a fucking writer says, because Goldberg never once fucking said that last night.
Hell, you also have to...
Go ahead, Heather.
You also have to... Again, it goes back to 83 weeks. Where even Eric Bischoff sits there and says that even Chris Jericho's biography is not exactly 100% accurate.
Oh. Because Chris Jericho is not the one writing it. He helped him write it. Chris Jericho did write his own book, but he's putting his own self over. If I was writing an autobiography, I would put my own self over because I want to sell millions and millions and millions of copies. It's what they do. That was never not once said with Goldberg last night. So whatever came out of Goldberg's mouth is what I'm going by. Not what comes out of fucking Brian Alvarez's fucking index finger in writing. Brian Alvarez is a fucking goon just like fucking Dave Meltzer.
No, I didn't hear what the point was. What was it that...
Go ahead, Trexter.
I was saying that Goldberg I was telling Johnny Ray that I was saying that Goldberg didn't want to use a metal baseball bat when they told him to do that so he wouldn't hurt himself because I don't want to look like a pussy. So he did it himself like this and rips up his tendons. So that's what I was trying to say, that it's like so that's kind of on him. If that is true, then that's on the big idiot for not doing that.
It's not true.
It's not true. He never said that,
He said his exact, I can't remember his exact
He
words.
lost his temper.
He lost his temper. Him and Scott Hall. It was like a fucking reaction thing. Did you watch that episode? I'm not talking about the Goldberg episode. I'm talking about the episode of Monday Nitro. Did you see that episode?
I've seen that before, yeah.
Okay, so you remember Scott Hall. Just like they showed, he walked back there.
Yeah.
Goldberg was in the refrigerator.
Yeah.
He looked up, and Scott Hall said something to him, and it fucking set him off, and he fucking chased. And it wasn't a word. It was a shoot.
Yeah.
Goldberg was going to beat the fucking shit out of fucking Scott Hall. Because Goldberg was frustrated.
Because this all happened right after he lost the title.
It also happened at Hall's heaviest drinking days.
Yes,
exactly.
And it pissed Goldberg off. He chased him out. He couldn't get to fucking Scott, so he decided to take it out on the fucking limo, and there's your story. Brian Alvarez is a fucking twit. He's no better than fucking Dave Meltzer.
Speaking of that bullshit.
Oh yeah, let's talk about that fucking real quick, and then Heather's got to set up her show.
Okay.
I'm pretty much set up already. I just gotta change over.
I know.
This is my thing, and this is the only point that I'm going to make, and the only thing that I'm going to go on record saying. The wrestlers didn't say shit when they went to a country where women weren't allowed. And they did a big propaganda campaign about it. Mm-hmm. The female wrestlers didn't say shit about them naming a woman that did some very bad things outside of the business. They didn't say shit. But they want to get pissed off at a fucking nobody, because this is my reality. This is my stance on everybody that's on the internet. At the end of the day, they're just normal people. So the women are getting mad at a guy on the internet who is grading a match based on how the women look. Well, I'm just going to come right out and say it. Newsflash, ladies. Men are visual. It's how we are wired. If you have a fucking problem with that, I get so irritated with this shit that a guy can't base things on what he likes. So if he likes somebody thinner, so fucking what? There's plenty of other dudes out there that like them in all sizes. Who gives a fuck about Dave Meltzer anyways? The guy is 90% wrong half the time.
90% wrong half the time. So he's 140% wrong.
Exactly.
No. So here's the thing, and I will agree with you on a certain point. I will say that you are right. That why are people worrying about what fucking Dave Meltzer says? I don't. You know how I feel about Dave Meltzer. I say it all the fucking time. My issue is that I hate to say this, Johnny. I think it was a bad comparison because they weren't. The thing in Saudi Arabia had nothing to do with their looks.
I get that. I get that.
So when you're saying that, no, I can't agree with that, but I can agree with I can agree with the women saying. I mean, what are they gonna say about? Well, we can't. It's just Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia doesn't allow women to fucking do shit. They're just now starting to. They don't allow them to do nothing. We can't change. And I really want everybody to fucking understand where I'm coming from on this. Because we fought in the Middle East for decades now, okay? If we start going in there and telling them how to run things, we can't tell them to change their culture. That's like me telling Johnny, because I'm here in Texas, that he has to act like he's from Wisconsin, sitting in this room. How fucking dumb does that sound?
Well, a good example of that, it's actually been in the news here lately. Saudi Arabia is like giving Canada all kinds of shit because Canada's trying to tell Saudi Arabia what to do.
Right.
And Saudi Arabia. I guess what the point that I was trying to correlate between those events and what happened with Dave Meltzer was not necessarily, well, why did they speak out? My point is, in this day and age of this outrage culture that we live in, why is this the issue to die by the sword on? You know what I'm saying?
It's one of those liberal agenda things. I hate to fucking say that, but it is.
I almost think that the Saudi Arabia thing, the thing with the fabulous Moolah, which you and I were dead in agreement on that they shouldn't even changed it.
Not Bobbitt's the same way. I think Heather is the same way too.
Absolutely.
And my thing is such a minute thing of a dude being essentially a douchebag, judging a woman by her looks, which again, I hate to point this out, that's biological to an extent.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, but
we've learned, real men have learned to control that, but at our base level, we are attracted to attractive women at the end of the day. And I just find it really odd that this is the sword that they want to die on. Versus what the hell? Let me see.
It's fine. Finish what you're saying. I got it. I'll respond to it here in a second.
So was Dave Meltzer a piece of shit for putting it out there? Yeah, he was a piece of shit. But again, I don't understand the outrage. I don't get why this is such a big deal and the others were not, because those are much more, those are much harder. Those are much bigger issues.
Right.
And that's where I was going with it.
I will say this, Meltzer did not stop at the women. He criticized the look of John Morrison, too.
Yeah, he did.
Right, and so that's my point. The guy goes by the look of a character. So why is this,
It's not. I now that you mention it, it's not Dave Meltzer. I'm just going to say this. Told ya. Everybody's like, oh, Dave Meltzer's a great writer. He's a fucking dipshit. I don't fucking listen to any fucking thing the guy says. It's funny listening to the guy. The guy can rate matches. Well, apparently he can't now, but the guy can rate matches. That's all he knows how to fucking do. Go listen to 83 Weeks. I'm telling you, fucking Bischoff shits on him all the fucking time because he can't fucking get his facts straight. This supposed contract that fucking Eric Bischoff signed for fucking Bret Hart. He said, show me that contract and I'll fucking eat it. Dave Meltzer said, I have a copy of it. He has yet to fucking produce it.
Well, my whole thing has been, is I just don't understand what is so, why these women, you know what,
it's today's society.
It's today's society, but I get what some women want to say, that they don't want to be judged by how they look, but you're in a profession where how you perform, how you come across, how your look is a big part of your character.
Yes.
And so where I start getting a little bit frustrated with is, okay, if you don't want that, then why are you in this business?
Right. Yeah, I agree. Why Society said, doesn't WWE going, if they won't let the women, though, look like a double standard? Doesn't it look like WWE cares more about the money than their employees? You just answered your own fucking question. Read the last part. Read the last part to yourself. Why Society.
Now, to get a woman's perspective on this, Heather, is what I'm saying making any sense? Or am I just
But
going...
you know what? I've known for a very long time that Dave Meltzer is not only a shit hack of a reporter when it comes down to actual facts. I knew he was also a fucking pig. So I never let anything he ever say bother me.
Right. And I'm not and I want to make people very clear, I'm not defending Dave Meltzer on this.
No, because you said very clearly that some men know how to better handle being the visual character.
Because we, like to a certain degree, we even do that on the show. We even do that. Not to that extent. We don't grade them based on how they look, on how the match is going. But we do, like, there's certain things like Bobbitt. He loves Asuka. He loves how she looks. He wants to marry that girl. God help her.
All she's got to do is show up on the show, and he gives the show a fucking 10.
Exactly. And so we even do it, but that's guys. That's what Meltzer was portraying, was a very bad representation of that.
Yes. And I also want to, I see where you're going, JP, right now. Why Society? They left the women behind because they went to a country where women are not allowed to do anything other than pop out babies and clean the fucking house. So don't give me that shit.
Well, I was going to not. So that's not what I was going to say. But all I was going to say is they can afford pyro. They just stopped doing it. They can afford it. They just don't want to do it anymore.
Right, because
they're cutting costs. It has nothing to do with them being able to afford it or not. They're just cutting costs. More money that goes into their pockets, they're fine with. That's all that. That's why they cut pyro out. Had nothing to do with they couldn't afford it. That had nothing to do with it. They just cut it out. They just cut costs. That's all they're doing. And Pyro doesn't make the show for me anyway. I'm not there to watch fucking Pyro. And I'm there to fucking watch a fucking wrestling match.
And realistically, on a lot of the wrestlers that they had the Pyro for, it didn't really make much sense. So why are you doing Pyro for this character? But with somebody like Kane or Undertaker, it made sense to have the Pyro. But like an AJ Styles or Nakamura, you don't necessarily have to have the pyro with those guys. Just them showing up sells themselves. Kane and Undertaker was more that played into the mystique, their character.
What? I don't think Undertaker really had pyro. The only thing he really had was the fire thing, and that's really not that expensive.
It depended on the version of Undertaker. He either had the fire or he had the lightning bolts.
But they can do the lightning with the fucking graphics that they
have now. Right.
You can do the strobe lights, and that.
A good example.
The only person that I see that needs fucking pyro is Rusev when he comes out and does that jump thing.
Oh yeah. And a good example of somebody that doesn't use pyro, but it still adds. It helps with their but what they do really accents the character. Finn Balor's demon gimmick.
Yes.
They don't do pyro for Balor, but they do the smoke.
Yeah, but that's not that's cheap. That's
right.
Dry ice. That shit's cheap.
So, with that being said, you ready to so she can get started?
It's up to her. She's got to let me know. How long is it going to take you to set up?
Like 10 minutes.
Okay. We can go. You got anything else you want to add?
Well, I think why don't we do this? Why don't we get everybody's final thoughts on the episode, and we'll do a little wrap up and make it. Oh, before we do that, guys, reminder: I have the mouse with me right now. It's in the car. I actually got to go sign it, and then JP's going to sign it. Remember, for the month of August.
Halfway through it.
We're halfway through it. The top donator for the month of August between the Cold Bone Show, Tattooed Mistress, Bobbitt, and Derailed. Good God, there's a lot of fucking shows involved in this shit. The top donator will get not only the Johnny Sinister Timeout t-shirt from JP, Bob and his Bob's, a picture of it. You will also be getting the first ever mouse that was used to be put at somebody in timeout, signed by myself, JP, and the rest of the Cold Bone crew, minus Trexter due to outside issues, which is fine. But that being said, you have till the month end of August, and I think we'll probably announce the winner probably the following week.
I'll do my best.
Yeah, we'll probably announce the winner like a week or two afterwards.
I'll just have to get the tallies from everybody.
With that being said, we'll go with Trek. What's your final thoughts about this episode?
I think like everybody said, I think that just he was a phenomenon, and as soon as he lost, I mean, it was just, they could have made him look a lot stronger than the stupid cattle prod and all that crap. They could have made him look you can lose and not look like a chump. I mean, I've seen them do it with other people. So the fact that they made him lose and he went off the deep end pretty much, it just,
You want me to handle that one?
No, you're good. I was just going to say, Trek, I don't think that Goldberg looked like a chump. They didn't make Goldberg look like a chump.
No.
It was more or less they thought it was going to work, and it just didn't work.
Yeah.
It was a dumb. Hindsight 2020, Bobbitt, is how it goes. Not hindsight 50-50. But hindsight 2020, it was a bad idea. Mm-hmm. At the beginning it was, but then again, it's Kevin Nash. He was only given so much to work.
Yeah.
Heather, final thoughts.
My final thoughts are with the episode. Really, there were a lot of things going on with the Goldberg character that we didn't even realize.
Right, yeah.
And this just helped bring it to light. And frankly, why society, if you're the owner of a company, would you not want to break into every corner of the fucking world that you could as well?
We didn't do.
I was going to. You ruined. You took my thunder. I'm just kidding. No, all I was gonna say to him, and I was gonna pretty much say what Heather was gonna say, and I'll add a caveat onto that. No, they wouldn't. Why would you turn down money? Why would you turn down money? They're giving you $100 million to fucking come over there. Why do you think WWE went over there? They got in the fucking door. Now the next step is to get the women to fucking get in there. Has anybody's got this fucking tunnel vision when it comes to the fucking women? And I know Heather, I've told Heather this. I want the women to be in Saudi Arabia. But god damn it, you gotta get in the fucking door first. Once you get through the fucking door, god damn. Well, WWE's broken barriers before.
And people gotta understand, especially in that part of the world, those women show up in some of the attire that they wrestle in.
They go to jail.
That. So that's not necessarily a bad thing that they didn't go. They got into the door. Triple H has even stated that in a couple of years he wants the women to be able to wrestle. Also there. So I don't see what everybody's bitching about. Anyway, did you have anything to add, Heather?
No, that's pretty much it.
Okay.
I was just going to say that no, WWE will never get rid of the women. That would be the dumbest move they could ever fucking do. Because you would lose a lot of the fucking women fans. think about what you're saying.
Some of the men too.
Yeah, some of the men too, because some of the men do like fucking some of the wrestlers, and not because of the fucking way they look. Like me, I fucking love Asuka. I love Becky. I think them two are probably two of the better workers.
Hey! You got to include my wife.
Not yet. They've done buried her.
Oh God, I hate that shit.
But my thoughts on the show. Again, it all comes down to, in the short term, with WCW, it works. Everything worked for WCW short term. They couldn't book long term. That's where they failed. And it's the same thing with Goldberg. They had lightning in a bottle, but nobody knew how to book the guy. I guarantee it, if he would have come through WWE probably would have known how to book the guy.
Bobbitt, what say you?
Bobbitt.
Did he fall asleep?
No, right here. I have a mic muted, so I interrupt you. First of all, I just want to give an update. Packers are winning by a field goal.
Okay.
Secondly, like JP said, they had lightning in a bottle. It's just they screwed it up.
They did.
And I really don't have much more to add, honestly. Like y'all brought up a lot of good points.
Thank you.
I think for me, and I go back to what I said at the beginning. This, for me, I think brought out a lot of stuff that we were not expecting. And for me, what I took away for this, I actually have a newfound respect for Goldberg and what he did for the business. For a guy that usually only did a couple 2 to 3 minute matches, made that big of an impact on the industry is amazing to me. And now I'm, I have much more. In fact, I look back now on his last run in WWE, and I actually kind of look at it a little bit more fondly than, because that was a little bit depressing for me to see that people were shitting on him. But going back and seeing what he did in WCW, and the guy at 55 could still go that minute or two and be just as powerful as he was back then, that's really something for me. And I think Goldberg probably goes down as probably one of the most underrated. Dated as far as the true trailblazers for what we had back then. And it gave me and honestly, what I think as this series as a whole has done especially for a lot of us, is a newfound appreciation for what we once had.
Yes, but I do want people to understand they need to stop comparing what's going on today with the fucking Attitude Era.
Yes.
Right.
That's why WWE did all of these shows, and they have all of the. If you don't want to fucking watch the product that's going on today, by all means, go back and watch the Attitude Era. Be stuck in the 1990s. It will get better. We just have to. Weather the storm is a term that I would love to use, because WWE, and you've made mention of it, I've made mention of it. This Randy Orton thing, with what they've got him doing, that is the kind of shit that they used to do in the Ruthless Aggression Era. It didn't quite go as far as it would have in the Attitude Era. In the Attitude Era, he probably would have taken those fucking earlobes and fucking pulled them right out.
Another one was that first promo that Miz did on SmackDown when they started really kind of building up to the feud with Daniel Bryan, and he was on the Titantron, and I said, you guys want to see what an Attitude promo looks like? That's what an Attitude promo looks like. And I agree, because this is the thing I always tell people too. Realistically, the product has not been in that bad for that long, in retrospect to what we were growing up with till now, it's probably been at its worst probably in the past maybe 5 years.
Yeah.
Up until that point. So when you looked at it in hindsight, it has not been that, you know, we're going through the slump right now. And I can remember another time where
we're seeing now is what we were seeing right before the Attitude.
What we're seeing now is what we're seeing now is right before the Attitude Era.
Why society? Stop with the Randy Orton jokes. He didn't fucking do it. That was some SJW fucking writer that worked for WWE that thought he could get one over on fucking Randy Orton. Stop with the jokes. Shit's not funny.
And with that being said, we are going to end it here, guys. I want to thank everybody for coming out, even you, Y Society, you little piece of shit.
No, you're not a piece of shit, man.
I'm just, anytime I do that shit, I'm just joking. But I want to thank everybody for coming out. Thank you to everybody for the continued support. We definitely appreciate it. And next week, we will be covering Monday Night Jericho.
One of my favorite episodes. I fucking love this episode.
So be sure, as always, to tune in and for our live reactions Monday and Tuesday and Saturday and Sunday this weekend. Again, so, but always, if you want a good, guys, this is turning into a really good thing. This is probably one of my shows that I look forward to the most. Tune in next week for Wrestling Memories. Thank you guys so much. We'll see you next time. We'll see you guys, well, actually, we'll see you guys in a few minutes once Heather sets up her stream. But as far as the wrestling stuff goes, we'll see. Most of us will be here Saturday.
That's fine, Y Society. You're good. But yes, don't forget Heather. As soon as we get done here, Heather's going to jump on her channel. She's going to be doing Raging Inc. is coming back.
Yeah, Raging Inc. is going to wait until we're in our new places, but it can be a little on the louder side.
Because she had something really good to say to me, too.
Yeah, I'm going to hold on to it because it's a subject that's been kind of bugging me for a while.
Is this one of those ones that I need to make an appearance?
You might have to, because you know what? When it comes down to it, with the subject matter, you could help back me up on it.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So special guest Johnny Sinizter on the Raging Inc. Oh God.
And it will be back to the original Raging Inc. format. I will not be playing World of Warcraft in the background. However, tonight I will be playing World of Warcraft for you, showing you the Alliance side of the new expansion.
No fair. I had to come and babysit your damn man. And hey, you're playing BFA. No, I'm kidding.
Babysit me, fucking cocksucker.
Get the cookie sheet.
Honestly, the two of you together, I'm waiting for a call from the cops. So.
All right, guys. Thank you guys so much. That's going to do it for us this evening. We'll see you guys in a few minutes on Heather's channel. Bye now.
Talk to you guys later. Go ahead, Heather.